We have Stephen Haedrich from New York Label and Company, and he does not have a presentation this time. So he's come from all the way from New York to talk to us today.
Thank you. I don't have slides. I don't normally work with slides, because I can't do two things at once, so I'm just going to talk to you folks. Our company is a printer. We do package printing, vitamin labels, vitamin boxes, shampoo labels. We have 2 plants, and I've been asked to talk about our system of selling, and we didn't have one for the longest time. We were very focused on the Deming theory operationally, the quality in the factory, reducing waste along those lines. And when your biggest customer tells you they are leaving you because they found a price that's half of yours, you better have a solid system of selling in place to replace all that business, and that's what we're dealing with right now. The key things for us when we looked at the Deming method of systematizing sales, we knew that operationally was key, we knew marketing was key, we knew the sales force was key, and we knew innovation was key. And Dr. Deming talks a lot about innovation, and I'll go into that a little bit also. So operationally, you have to have great quality today, because you have to have low waste, because you have to have low prices. It's a very commoditized business, and without that, you're not even in the game. You have to deliver on time, or you're not in the game, and you have to be able to deal with the marketplace's complexity, because the commoditization is wiping out all the guys that can't do it. And that's, for us, that was very much along the Deming theories that allowed us to handle all this workplace complexity and allows you to compete. From the marketing standpoint, we understood that we were wasting a lot of money and getting very little return from that money. And I think we took out a lot of the costs, and we were able to figure out that we wanted to brand ourselves in such a way that we would differentiate us from the competition, mostly from the innovation side, the educational side, and partnering with clients. And all we really do right now, we have a calendar we send out every year. We've been doing it since 2008. And the funny story behind that is we work with Kelly Allen, a wonderful gentleman. And in 2008, we did this wonderful calendar. We're a 135-year-old company. We have some catalogs from the 1900s. So we said, let's take that look. Let's recreate it on a 12-month calendar. We'll put stickers in there. It was a great idea. We did it. In 2009, my marketing guy says, I want to change to a poster. And I said, well, the calendar worked pretty well. The clients like it. It's in front of them 12 months of the year. It's one expense. And he had this great idea, or so we thought, to do a poster. So we did this real nice poster, all nice drawings, completely got away from the theme. And Kelly called me up and he said, I heard about this poster idea. He said, do you think that is in line with Deming's theory of continual improvement? And I said, well, we were early in the phase working with Kelly at this point. I said, my marketing guy really wants to do it. I want to let him kind of run with the ball. And Kelly just said, I'm just trying to help you out. So we put out this poster. It was the worst disaster in my career. Every single client basically called up and said, where was the calendar last year? We loved it. We have it on our thing. So we regrouped, and my marketing guy came back to me and said, damn, Kelly was right. We just should have improved the calendar. So then in 2010 and on, we've improved it every year. People call for it. We now can send, some companies get like 25 or 30. If you miss a client, they're going to call you and say, where is your calendar? So here we have this tremendous marketing tool that we improve every year, keeps our name in front of clients, and it's a tremendous relationship builder. So then we figured out, too, we don't have a lot of money to waste, so the marketing with social media, with Twitter, with Facebook, with Instagram, we're using all these tools to help brand us in the marketplace and differentiate us, and that's worked out well because it doesn't cost much money, and you can effectively reach your target audience. And the last thing we do is monthly mailings of unique samples where we're stressing the innovation part of our business and how we can be a valuable resource to clients. So then on the sales front, our biggest challenge years ago with the salespeople was having them understand that all clients, you can't be everything to everyone. We learned that the hard way. We tried to be everything to everyone, and we realized we had a lot of bad clients that were drawing time, draining energy, not a good fit, mucking up the system. So our first big challenge in our systematizing our sales efforts were getting rid of bad clients. And it's very tough when a client calls you with a reorder and says, I'd like to place a reorder. They would order one order a year. So we had all this built-in expense. So we taught the salespeople, we trained them how to say, this might not be a good fit for us. This is probably somewhere you can get cheaper elsewhere. But if you really want to do with us, here's our price. We actually raised the prices, and they would either give us the order and we'd actually make a little money, or they would take their business elsewhere. And it's very difficult to train salespeople to not take orders. But operationally, and understanding that it's the entire system, they finally caught on, and the clients would actually appreciate we would tell them where else to go. We would not hide anything. So one of our first big challenges in systematizing selling was understanding who your client is, who do you want your client to be, and then you got to build your business from a technology standpoint around that. And that was a tremendous learning experience, because we just had all these clients. We were busy running around, but we weren't operationally able to achieve our goals because we had the wrong clients that were a bad fit. And one of the most critical things you have to learn in the system of selling is the customer's part of your system. And Dr. Deming stressed that. And when you bring the customer into your system, you have to understand what their needs are. You have to understand how you can delight them. And one of the many magical things that I picked up from Dr. Deming, you have to have your systems in place so your clients are actually bragging about you. He used the word brag. It was really quite stunning for me to see that, because we had a lot of clients that were bragging at us from an operational standpoint, but not so much from a selling standpoint. And we changed that, and that is, it's a big shift in thinking when you are truly working with your clients so that they will brag about you. Then you talk about marketing. That's really the best free marketing you can have, when your clients are out there telling other people about your services. So the other component with the sales team, we had to help them and train them and give them the tools to educate our clients and educate them on what we can and can't do. Educate them on how to save money. Educate them on, it's not just about the label or the carton, but it's about their systems and improving their systems operationally. And we have a team of people where we can go into your plant and help you speed up your lines, help you drive your costs down, and that becomes an amazing tool, an amazing weapon to work with clients that are going to go to you all the time, was our engineers then end up talking to their engineers. And it's a tremendous sales tool to have engineers at the bottom of your client's rung telling their purchasing people, you have to go to New York Label. This is going to get done by them. We don't have the time. We can't screw this up. And that's also a very powerful weapon. The other powerful weapon we utilize is getting in with the designers. And we lost a client, a $2 billion vitamin client years ago, because their only objective was they wanted the absolute lowest price. They were bought by a private equity company. They wanted the lowest price, and we said, that's not a good fit for us. We're not going to be able to make money, and if we can't make money, we're not in this business to just spin the presses. That was about 2 or 3 years ago. The designer put his job on the line 2 or 3 years ago, and he said, if you don't, they had 5, 6 label printers. They said, if you don't allow me to go to someone else, I'm going to quit. He didn't know about us. He reached out to one of my friends, Ashley, who he knew, and he said, you know, of a very high quality label printer, my designs are not getting printed properly by the 5 companies you can have. So then what the ensuing firestorm was, you had purchasing, who thought the 5 label guys were great. All they were really were very low-priced label guys, and it was a big political thing. He won. We started doing their work. We were voted their #1 quality vendor globally. They then went to Europe, and they fired the guy because we were their new benchmark for quality. They got a new guy who's supposedly better than us. We came in second globally, which was okay. So when this private equity company takes over the vitamin company, They got rid of everybody except 3 people. Price was the #1 consideration. We bowed out. And I just got an email. Last week, the art director called up and said, I'm going to bat for you guys again. The companies are failing again with my designs. We have a product launch with Walmart. It's a $90 million project for them. And we were awarded the business. We've been doing testing with them. And it's a tremendous credit to my company and my team that we have this billion-dollar company where the guy literally is putting his job on the line so he can work with us. And it's a nice experience for my people. You talk about joy in work. We have this company back. We turned them down for price, and we just gave them the price. I was a little bit nervous, and they said that price, if their price is normally 3 cents, on this project we said 6 cents, and they said, okay, that sounds good. So they knew it was going to be expensive, but they also understand that this premium product line requires premium labels, and premium labels get premium pricing. So that's been a wonderful plus for our company. The 4th part of selling is innovation. And the reality is your clients don't know your business like you know it. It's up to you to go to them with the ideas that will help them in the marketplace. And that innovation, Dr. Deming talks about, no client ever asked for a seatbelt. They're standard today. No client ever asked for a DVD player. It's standard today. So you have to work with your vendors to come up with ideas that are going to fill their pipeline with new concepts that's going to differentiate their product in the marketplace. And I have one great story that I told in LA. We work a lot with vendors, and vendors are very impressed by our innovation, our team of people. We have really, really bright people that work for us. And at the end of the day, the vendors appreciate our willingness to test, our willingness to innovate, our willingness to try different things. And this one vendor was a UV vendor who came up with an idea to have tactile drops on a label to make it look like it was just pulled out of the cooler. He said, 4 people can't do this. If you can't do this, I'm going to forget about it. But I really think someone could do this if you do it right. My team gets together. They hear about this. The opportunity for us in vitamins and beverage was very exciting. But it was a little bit daunting when you find 4 of your competitors can't do it. So my team, trial, PDSAs, predictions, theories. We finally, one of my theories that I tell my people all the time is you don't have to do it the first time correctly. You just have to follow the system of how you think it's going to work. And Edison failed, and then we get the light bulb. Everyone knows that story. So the 4th try, they're about to give up. They're about to be very dejected. One of my guys came up with this wonderful idea that I can't tell you, but we did it. And I called the UV guy, said, I got it. And he says, okay, now that you've done it, the client that I have in mind is Coca-Cola. Pretty decent client. Gives me the guy's business, global brand development. I call him up. He says, I heard you did it. He said, I'm going to send you artwork for Sprite. Sends us artwork for Sprite. We do the tactile drops. It's unbelievable. Looks amazing. Looked like you just pulled the Sprite out of it. The dot is high. The dot is hard. It's wonderful. We're all going crazy. He says, come down to Atlanta. I want to meet you. We fly down to Atlanta. And he said, this is wonderful. People have been failing. I didn't think it was possible. You did it. We'd like you to give us your secret so we can send it to Russia, and they're going to produce the whole thing. So I said, I'll give you my secret if you give me your secret of Coke. And that didn't work out so well. So we have yet to deal with that. But honestly, we've sold to other people, and maybe someday Coke will come back, but maybe we'll go to Pepsi. So, operationally is key, having the right quality, handle the complexity, on-time delivery. Marketing is obviously key. Giving your salespeople the tools to educate the clients, and innovation. So when you talk about the clients, you have to have a vision and a constancy of purpose where your clients and your organization are going to be aligned in such a way that your technology fits for them, your systems fit for them, and I think the continuous component of understanding that selling is actually a system is critical. And at the end of the day, if you want a thriving business, you must have predictable, consistent sales growth. If you are going to create jobs, you're not going to create jobs if your business is declining. And one of the theories that we live by is the Deming Chain reaction. It's not our goal to make money, but it is our goal to provide jobs, and you're only going to do that if you have improved quality, lower waste, increased production, market share, jobs, et cetera. And that's a big philosophy we follow at our company. And one of the reasons we had to really do this was our main client essentially put us out to bid. And they do it every 2 years. So you go into purchasing, they tell you they need better prices, their job is on the line, and it was always a 3% reduction. If they give you more business, 3% down. I never could understand that, but it was worked out. So a couple years ago, they called us in. We expect them to ask us for a 3% reduction. The purchasing guy said, we need an 8% reduction. And I said, what happened to 3? He said, it's now 8. I said, that's going to be very tough. All I said is, how about 4? He said, fine. So we moved on. They understood how critical we were to their success. It's a cosmetic company. We've been with them for probably 100 years. When they sold, the family sold in 2001, they were $40 million. We have grown with them where they are now a $600 million company. We are their sole vendor of labels, and I've never heard of it. Like with this vitamin company, what happens is when a company's growing, a printing company usually hits their max. Delivery starts to go down, quality starts to go down, they bring another vendor. So now the company has to deal with 2 label vendors. Then what happens is they grow again, they bring in a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. The vitamin company, I think, had 7 or 8 label vendors. We were able to grow only because operationally we could handle the growth from a manufacturing perspective. And at the end of the day, we are very proud of the fact that not only were we growing with them, but we had a quality rating of 99.7 and an on-time delivery rating of 99.6. So we always have an internal, the quality guys versus the delivery guys are always fighting that who's got the better ratings as a joke. And they said to us they've never seen a company in any one of their vendors where the sales are going up and the quality is going up and the delivery is improving. And again, that is a testament to the Deming management method. It's a testament to continual improvement, and it's a testament to the power of systems thinking that our company lives by. The last thing I want to mention, this time is not enough for talking about commission. But I just mentioned to a gentleman, we don't have commission. What we do, and we think it's right, we know it's right, is pay people market value. Whether you're a pressman, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're a receptionist, we pay people market value. We want to get money off the table. We want to have people focused on the job, focused on the client, focused on continually improving. We don't want commission salespeople in the accounting office every 20 minutes wondering how their commission's looking for this week. We don't want to keep redoing our commission plans, and we feel it's the way to go. The 2 things I'd recommend on that is Brian Joyner talks about how to pay people correctly, a compensation system, and there's a book called Free, Perfect, and Now, and they talk about how he took a $500 million company and turned his commission salespeople into salaried people, and their sales hit $1 billion. 3 salespeople quit, 2 came back, I believe, so something like that. So we definitely don't pay commission, and I think it's worked out well for us. And the system of selling is just like any other system. It's got to be solid. It's got to be robust. It has to touch all points. And what we were great at was customer service. And we took almost every client that came to us. It was a big shift in our thinking to go from build it and they will come to reaching out and finding the right clients. And we probably started this 2 years ago. And when our biggest client said, forget about the 8% or 4% or 3% reduction, a competitor came in, a billion-dollar competitor came in and bid half of ours. So now our system of selling, luckily, is in place, and we have now targeted 8 clients where we think we're going to get 6 of them, and that'll completely replace our number 1 company's lost revenue. So the system of selling was absolutely imperative for us, and it's rare that a company can lose its number 1 client and still survive. But with the Deming philosophy on the operationally and on the sales side, I think we're going to be just fine. Any questions?
Could you talk a little bit about why you don't set sales targets and why you don't have sales incentives?
Okay. We don't have really sales targets because at the end of the day, it's going to create an adversarial relationship between the salespeople and the factory. At the same time, it's very much management by objectives, which is going to get you in trouble because people are going to probably bring in the wrong business. And all we focus on is continual improvement. And we know that if we are reaching out to the right clients and we are doing the right thing for them, we're going to grow. And at the end of the day, we look at the business and we say, how can we grow approximately 10%? We don't make it mandatory. We don't make it imperative. We don't even really talk about the numbers. But what we say is, how are we going to do that? Are we going to buy a new press? Are we going to introduce a new product to the market? Are we going to, what's going to be the method that we're going to improve our sales efforts? And I think at the end of the day, the people appreciate the concept of growth, but it's not built into our system that if we don't grow, we're running around with hammers, we're running around yelling at people. We just understand that to be a thriving company, you have to have growth because your costs are going to go up, because you want to give people raises so they can meet their bills. And I think at the end of the day, it's a philosophy that doesn't get us in trouble because it's not management by objectives, but at the end of the day, people want to work for a company that's growing and thriving and innovating, and that's worked pretty well for us.
Corollary to that question, how do you, in any sales force, there are some people who are better performers than others. Is there a bonus system? How do you make sure that everybody's motivated?
Okay, it's a great question. So the question is, we don't have a bonus system for sales. What we have is an overall profit sharing for the entire company. Because if you're a salesman and that order doesn't go on time, you're not going to get more business. If you're a salesman and the price is too high, you're not going to get that order. So we pretty much have sold everyone on understanding there is going to be, at the end of the day, we're pretty sure if we do it right, we're going to have profits. We're going to share it. And quickly, I'll tell you what we came up with the help of Kelly. Our profit sharing is based on 3 components. 1, how long you've been with the company. 2, your market value. And 3, everyone gets the same bonus to prove we're all in it together. So we don't want to stress that. It's more of an end product. And the other point I'll mention, you're going to have variation. There's going to be people that are above, below average. And frankly, if you have the right client, I mean, the guy that was on the big cosmetic account, he had a company that was growing tremendously, so he would grow. It wasn't because of him, it was because of the company. So I think we try to get rid of the mindset where the salespeople are this, outside the system. But you deal with people under the Deming method. You got to create the team focus. You have to create a lot of things go along with that. But we try not to stress. At the next year, he could lose a big client. He's not any less valuable to us than he was when he had the big client.
previously had commission?
No. We never had commission. I never believed in it. I always felt it was there was something wrong with it. When I got into Deming, it was our biggest client required all their vendors to be focused on quality. And the two things that stood out to me that I totally believed in were getting rid of performance appraisals, which are a complete waste of time. I mean, I love Lori's story. 2 million hours are spent trying to determine who's good and who's bad and who we should fire and who we shouldn't. But getting rid of performance appraisals with no commission. When I saw those two things, it enabled me just to keep reading out of the crisis, and it just solidified my theories, which I thought were correct. Deming synthesized all of them, and I just try to do what he says to do, and it seems to work out pretty well. How are we doing on time? 5 minutes. A few more questions. Fred.
So what do you do if you've taken your salespeople off of commission and prior to this they were doing well and say their pay rate would be at X, and then a large account that was accounting for 50% of their market value at that time, we lose that business and his pay is now at that rate. How do we, because obviously the revenue's not coming in to pay him at that level anymore. How would you manage something like that?
I think when you are figuring market value for pressmen, it's relatively easy. You know if you list a 10-color pressman's going to get X, an 8-color pressman's going to get Y. It's the same thing with salespeople. You know market value of the top earners, and you know the average earners and the below average earners. And at the end of the day, that top guy, if he loses his big account, you pretty much, for whatever reason, hopefully it's not your fault, for whatever reason you lost that account, you're pretty confident he can go get another one. He's got the skill set, he's got the drive, he's got the tools, he's got the network, he's got the ability to then, if he loses a $1 million account, he's got 2 million sales, he can go get you another $1 million account. And that's what market value is all about. And I think at the end of the day, sometimes you got to suck it up with that guy for that year that he did lose the account. But at the end of the day, you want him on the team. You know he's going to bring another $1 million account, and you got to pay him what he's worth. And at the end of the day, whether he has the sales or not, and that's going to fluctuate, you know the value if you have to replace him. And if he leaves, that's how I determine market value. Your market value is, if you quit tomorrow, if you move out of the country, the market value you're getting paid should be the market value I need to put in the marketplace to replace your services. And it seems to work out pretty well. So a hand somewhere else.
Did you ever have sales outrun production?
All the time. All the time. It's you have to build your systems so they can stretch and contract, but it's a good problem to have. I'd rather have that problem than no sales. But at the end of the day, you have to have adjustments, whether it's overtime, whether it's a night shift, whether it's we figured out that we have an extra pressman who doesn't have a press, and people looked at me like, you are insane. How can you afford that? And I said, well, how can I afford to have a client that's not happy? How can you put a dollar amount on a client that's not going to brag? How can you factor in if you're late, if your production's late, and that client's running around telling the world you're late? And some days he does nothing. I shouldn't say that. Some days he doesn't run a press, but he's helping other people. And when someone's out, which they're going to be out, and he jumps on that press, and we print 4 or 5 jobs or 1 job, and you got 4 or 5 happy clients, you say to yourself, every penny I'm spending on him when he's not producing is just as important as when he is producing.
You never would outsource to another supplier?
We've never done that. I mean, we have some work that we outsource that we can't do, but I've never had a situation. And we have 2 plants, so we can balance a little bit there. We probably should do more of that. But we've never had a situation where we have said, let someone else do this. But frankly, I wouldn't trust most people's quality and the disappointment. So we've been pretty good at handling it. And at the end of the day, it's not the worst thing in the world to call a client and say, hey, can I have an extra day? Most times they'll say yes. Sometimes they'll say no, and that's the client you got to prioritize, but it's a good problem to have.
How do you encourage people to be willing to self-optimize for perhaps their department in order to have the whole system succeed? Or do you have that kind of understanding between the different groups and the different priorities?
You have to have an understanding in your company that we lose money in prep. There's no question about it. But I don't have the concept of I want every department to be profitable. We want overall profitability. If I got to lose some money in prep so I can get it to the press on time and I have less waste there, that's just part of Deming. And at the end of the day, you have to treat your company as one whole big system, vendors and clients included, and understand that you're going to take losses here and there, but as long as you are continually improving the system, in our case, we call the Gemba the factory, the press room itself. You have to optimize that, but that's where you're going to really make and lose your money. And we've had those conversations a lot, and it's a tough pill to swallow when you realize you're losing money somewhere, but at the end of the day, if you're making it somewhere else and you're making what you think you should make, you're going to do okay. And I think that people need that understanding. Not that they shouldn't be improving, not that you shouldn't try to charge more for those services, but at the end of the day, you just have to look at the system as a whole, and you just take your revenue and expenses, and if you're making money, you just got to continually improve the areas that you're not doing as well as you think you should. Time? Time's up. Thank you very much.